As ma'am has already told us that the topic of my presentation is constructing measurement instruments, reliability and validity. With this, I will start my presentation. The first thing is that why we do scale construction, why we use scale construction in our work, just to quantify the process. Okay, suppose we need to understand the stress level of caregivers of person with mental illness. So for understanding the stress level, we just quantify the level of stress, that is mild, moderate, or severe. So for that, scales are much needed thing. Okay, so as the definition says that quantification is the act of giving a numerical value to a measurement of something, that is to count the quanta of whatever one is measuring. Again, we can see that quantification produces a standardized form of measurement that allows statistical procedures and mathematical calculations. Okay. In the later part of my presentation, I'll be dealing with lots of statistical expressions, which will be a bit difficult to understand, but still I'll try to make it short and simple. Moving forward, we will talk about reliability. So, what is reliability? Reliability is defined as the extent to which results are consistent over repeated testing period and an accurate representation of the study population under similar methodology. So basically, what is reliability? Reliability is testing the same results repeatedly to get a more robust result. Am I too fast for the students?
No, Abhijeet, I think it's perfect.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, having a reliable instrument is essential for the precision, accuracy, and adequacy of the measurement. This is a self-explanatory sentence. Okay. One thing which I want to state about the Cronbach alpha, that is testing the internal consistency. Okay. So, the range between 0.70 to 0.90 is considered of having a good reliability. These things we'll see in the later part of our presentation also in the tabular form. Types of reliability, there are different types of reliability. The first is inter-weighted or inter-observer reliability. What is that? So this test is used to establish the level of agreement between different instruments or between two or more observers. Basically, two or more observers test and retest the scale at different point of time to see the reliability issues. Okay, then again the next is test retest reliability. This is also very related to the inter-rated or inter-observer reliability. In this, what happens? This form is used to assess the consistency of a measure over time. Over time means suppose they are testing 3 months, then they will test again in 6 months, then 9 months. Okay. Test retest reliability requires using the instrument on the same sample. This is very important that in the test retest reliability, the sample should be the same. Okay, at two different period of time, comparing the score for seeing the consistency level. Now, moving forward, last is the internal consistency reliability. This test measures the extent to which each item in the instrument is related to other items. Suppose there are 5 items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here in internal consistency reliability, we will see how the item 2 is related to 1, how item 3 is related to 2. So this is called internal consistency reliability. Now, moving on to the validity, all instruments require validity evidence. This is a very self-explanatory sentence. Okay. So, validity answers the questions whether the instrument measure what it requires to do so, and whether the measure is the validity of the measure is good. Unlike reliability, which is an attribute of the instrument, validity is not an attribute, but rather the extent of support for interpretation of score. Basically, validity is what? So validity is seeing the scale and how valid that the scale is in the given population. This is again the types of validity: construct validity, criterion validity, and concurrent validity and predictive validity. I'm not going in details because I have only 1 hour and I have to cover many statistical expressions also. So I'm just skipping it, but this is well there in the research books. You can go and have a look on it. Okay. So now we are entering into the world of pool construction. There are steps in pool construction. So here in this section, I have used the guideline of Devils. D-Velis is a person who has developed different kind of tools, who have given the guideline of the tool construction. So I have followed here the guideline of D-Velis. Okay. So here we can see there are 6 steps of tool construction. And during my presentation, I'll be describing each and every steps in one by one format. Okay. The step 1 is item generation. The step 2 is questionnaire administration. Step 3 is, step 1 is item generation. Step 2 is content adequacy assessment. Step 3 is questionnaire administration. Step 4 is internal consistency. Step 5 is factor analysis. And step 6 is construct validity. This we will be seeing one by one. Okay. So the first and foremost step in scale construction is item generation. So what is item generation? So it is a systematic process where items are pooled based on extensive literature. Okay. But what is extensive literature? How we do extensive literature in this kind of case? So in extensive literature review, we use both inductive and deductive. That means first we see the primary database. For example, primary database means going to the person, talking to him, talking to the caregivers about their problems and their challenges. And secondary database is reviewing the review of literature on in which area we want to develop the scale. What is the problem of the, suppose if we want to develop a scale for caregivers, so what is the problem of caregivers, talking to the caregivers, talking to the patient, and going to different hospitals and talking to different kinds of caregivers and their challenges. Okay, so this is called, based on this, we do the item generation. Okay. So as I've discussed earlier also, inductive and deductive method is used. Okay. Then on which model you want to develop the scale. For example, the scale which I have developed, use the person in environmental model. What is person in environmental model? So this stated that if you want to decrease the stress level of the patient, you have to deal with the family members or caregivers. Means if the stress level of the caregivers are coming down, then only the patient can recover in a more robust way or in a more comprehensive way. Okay, so based on extensive literature, based on the models, based on secondary data, we develop the items. Okay, now the third step is one of the very important step, which describes that suppose you want to develop a scale with 10 items. So make sure that you are taking at least just double items. For example, you are making a question pool of 20 items or 30 items or 40 items. Okay, just make sure that you are making the items just double. Okay, because at the later part of during the statistical expressions, you have to delete many of the items. So it is better to have as many as items as possible. Okay. Then step 4 is making the question pool and getting it corrected by the subject matter experts. Okay, this I'll be dealing in next slide. So now what is happening? Your question pool is prepared. Suppose you have prepared a question pool of 150 items. Okay, it is well prepared. Now you have to undergo the content adequacy assessment. Okay, what is this content adequacy assessment? So again, this content adequacy assessment consists of 5 steps. Number 1 is preparation of content validation performer. The second step is selection of subject matter expert. The third step is undergoing content validation. The fourth step is calculating CVI, that is content validity index. And the fifth step is cognitive interviews. See, here I want to clarify one thing, that the phenomenon of scale construction depends on how you reduce the items. Suppose you have developed a question pool of 150 items. So from 150 items, you have to delete the items so that at the end you are getting 15, 20 items, which is very comprehensively, and that you can call it as a scale. Okay. So this all the phenomenon is the simple objective is how to decrease the items. Okay, so first we are seeing the preparation of content validation performer. You have to prepare a content validation performer. You have to attach your question pool. Then you have to select the subject matter expert. Subject matter expert should be well versed with the area in which you want to develop the scale. For example, in my case, I want to develop a scale on the caregivers, and which was in the Department of Psychiatric Social Work. So in my case, who was subject matter expert? In my case, the subject matter experts were the psychiatric social workers, assistant professor of psychiatric social workers, associate professors of psychiatric social workers, who are well versed with this area. Okay, so that their feedback will be more valuable for you. Then undergoing the content validation, calculating CVI, and then CI, that is cognitive interview. Let's move to the next slide. This I have already expert. See, here in the subject matter expert, you can see that I have selected 10 subject matter experts. Now, this is here also there is one catch. The thing is that you have to select subject matter expert, and your number of subject matter expert will describe your CVI, that is content validity index. So this is what I want to state. See, if your number of subject matter experts are 5, then your CVI, that is content validity index cutoff, will be 0.99. If your subject matter experts is between 10 to 15, then your CVI will be 0.49. And if your subject matter expert is above 40 and above, then your CVI should be 0.29. So this cutoff you have to follow while selecting your subject matter expert. Okay? And this table is based on the Loche method, Loche 1975. Okay? I hope I am clear at this point, students. Okay, I hope I am clear. Then undergoing content validation. Okay, how we undergo content validation. So first of all, what we do, we prepare the whole performer, then we send to all the 10 subject matter expert, and we request the subject matter expert to give their feedback. Suppose 1 equals to completely acceptable. Suppose the subject matter experts are okay with the items, so they will score it as 1. 1 means completely acceptable, that is selection of the item, means that item you can select. Number 2 is required modification. Suppose few subject matter experts give the rating as 2. That means that particular item, that particular questions requires modification. And if few subject matter expert give it as 3, rate the item as 3, that is the item is not acceptable, you have to delete the item. So deletion of the item, modification of the item, and selection of the item is truly based on the feedback of the subject matter expert. So it is very necessary to have a very good subject matter expert panel. Okay. After this subject matter expert business is completed, then we calculate the CVI, that is content validity index. Okay, this is again a very important part. How we calculate the content validity index. And here we use few formulas, okay, which I am going to describe. See, there are definitions and formula of ICVI, that is item level content validity index, SCVI, that is scale level content validity index, and SCVI UA is scale level content validity index / universal agreement. Universal agreement means all the subject matter expert are rating the item as 1, means all the subject matter expert has given a green signal to the particular item, that is universal agreement. All the 10 subject matter expert has given a green signal to the particular item. So these are the related definitions and related formulas. I'll not explain all of this, but I'll explain just one so that you may understand the pattern. Suppose in the first is ICVI, that is item level content validity index. Okay, what is the definition says? The definition says the proportion of content experts giving an item a relevance rating of 1 or 2. Okay, relevance rating of 1 or 2. Suppose for item number 1, number of agreed item 6 means 6 subject matter expert has given a green signal to item number 1. So number of agreed items is 6. Total number of experts are 10. So your CVI will be 6 divided by 10, that is 0.6. Okay. So like this way we calculate all the ICVI, that is content validity index of all the items. Suppose in my case there are 150 question question items. So for all the 150 question items, we will calculate the CVI, that is Cognitive Validity Index. Likewise, we follow the pattern. Okay, so I'm moving forward. Now comes the cognitive interview. Okay, now comes the cognitive interview. What is cognitive interview? In cognitive interview, what we do, we go to the care. Suppose I'm developing a scale for caregiver. So I will go to the caregivers and I'll talk to them. What are your problems? What are your challenges? And at the same time, I will read my 150 questions in front of them. And I will see whether they are understanding the questions correctly or not. Suppose I'm reading question number 1. Okay, the question number 1 is how is your day? Suppose question number 1 is how is your day? So if my caregiver is understanding the question, how is your day, then it is good. If he is not understanding the question, I will prompt कि इसका मतलब होता है how is the day, आपका दिन कैसा है, आप आज का दिन कैसा बिताए हैं. Okay, so we will give 5 to 15 cues. Okay, कि try to catch the question, समझने की कोशिश करिए मैं क्या पूछ रहा हूँ. But if after repeated probing, if the caregiver is not understanding the question, then we will cross that question. We will not include that question in our final score. Okay, so this is again a process of deleting the item, that is called cognitive interview. Okay. So now comes the step 3. Step 3 is questionnaire administration. Okay, what is this? So suppose I want to develop a scale for caregivers. The scale is seeing the psychosocial problems in caregivers. So that is my scale. So now what I have to see, I have to review the literature. I have to find out that what are the other scales which are pre-existing, which have a good psychometric properties available for us. Okay. So in my case, I found that there are 7 scales which have a good psychometric properties. So I will compare those 7 scales with my new scale. Okay. Why I'm comparing this? Just to see the reliability and validity of my new scale. Okay. Students are not giving their views. Okay. Yes. So am I explainable to them, students?
Okay.
Okay.
Abhijeet, few of them were responded after your questioning in the chat box while you was asking that are you able to understand? Then the response was yes in the chat box actually.
Okay, sir. Sorry, sir, I didn't check it, sir. Sorry,
oh,
sir.
No, not an issue. So just I want to convey that they are getting you.
Okay, thank you, sir. So this is the questionnaire administration. This I have completed. Let's move forward. Okay. So now step 4 is called principal factor analysis. This is a big game. Okay, this is totally based on the statistical expressions. So this is difficult, but still I'll try to make it short and simple. Okay. So for any scale construction, you have to follow the step that is called principal factor analysis. Before conducting this principal, so one thing which I want to clear is that principal factor analysis, we conduct this principal factor analysis in SPSS. Okay, so this I want to make it clear. Okay, this is also called exploratory factor analysis. Okay, so before conducting this exploratory factor analysis, there are few steps which you have to follow. As you can see in the slides, the step 1 is prerequisite for conducting PFA. PFA stands for principal factor analysis. Step 2 is extract the factors. Step 3 is determine the number of factors. Step 4 is interpret the factor solution. And step 5 is final item reduction. As I have said earlier, that the objective of a scale construction is to reduce the item so that at the end of the day, we are getting a small, we are getting a 10 to 15 items, which we can call it as scale. So final objective is to reduce the item. So these are the steps which we are going to see in principal factor analysis. Okay. Number 1, what are the prerequisites for conducting PFA? That this is not that you will go and, excuse me, you will go and conduct PFA. There are few prerequisites which you have to follow. So let's discuss that. Number 1 is suitability of measurement scale. Okay, suitability of measurement scale. The scale which you are going to develop, we have to check the suitability of that scale. Okay, what this explains that Data must be measured on an interval or ratio level. I think you are well versed with what is interval, what is ratio, and so I am not going to describe this. In an interval scale, the item and responses are measured based on numerical values, and each of the numerical values are at the same interval. Okay? So basically, number one is what? Your measurement should have a interval or ratio level. Okay. The two is large sample size. The sample size should be large. Okay. Now, there is one thing more which I need to explain in this slide. That is calculating the sample size of your scale. See, suppose you have developed a scale. The scale name is psychosocial inventory for caregivers. But you have to apply that scale in a particular population to check the reliability and validity. That is very much explainable. But how to check the uh, uh, this population? How to calculate the population size? So there is one small formula which I am going to explain here. Your population size should be based on a ratio 1:4 to 1:10. And what is 1:4, 1:10? Suppose suppose you are having 10 items. Suppose you are having 10 items. Suppose you develop a question pool of 50 items. And if you are using the 1:4 criteria, that means 50 into 4. 5 fours are 20. So your sample size should be 120 or more. Okay. If you are using the ratio 1:10, if you are using the sample size calculation as 1:10, then your number of items, that is 150 into 10. That means your sample size should be 500 or more. So this is very, very important. This step, you can't miss this step. Okay. So sample size calculation, always remember that you have to item to response ratio should be 1:4 to 1:10. Suppose your items are 84. So and you are using 1:4 criteria, then 84 into 4. If your item to response ratio is 1:10 and your number of items are 84 again, then it will be 84 into 10. Okay, so this is the pattern of calculating the sample sizes. Okay, then the third is independent observations. What is this? It means that the responses collected from the sample should be independent in nature. That means every individual, every respondent should be independent. Every respondent should be a particular individual. Means there should be no relationship between individual A and individual B. And that should be very independent in nature. Okay. So that is again a very important criteria for conducting PFA, that is principal factor analysis. Step 4 is sufficiently correlation on the variable by using KMO. KMO stands for Kaiser Meyer Olkin table. This I'll be explaining in the next slide because otherwise there will be confusion. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Kaiser Meyer Olkin by Kaiser. What is this? In order to measure the adequacy of the sample, Kaiser 1974 proposed criteria known as pricing criteria. According to this criteria, the KMO value need to be 0.6 and close to be 1.0. The KMO value should be between 0.6 and 1.0. Okay. In my study, in my scale construction, the KMO came as 0.86. What do you mean by 0.86? So if your KMO value is coming 0.86, that means your sample adequacy is at meritorious level, that is at good level. Okay. Again, there is one more test that is called the Bartlett's test of sparsity. What is this? So it's significantly different from an identity matrix. The test provides an indication that the correlation matrix must fall at a significant level. That means the correlation between your pre-existing item and your new scale should fall between the significant value of 0.0. Okay. I have already said earlier that the whole process of PFA, that is principal factor analysis, is going to be difficult for students because it is purely statistical expressions. So please bear with me. I'm trying to make it simple, but it is a bit complex. Okay. The second is extraction of factors. Again, in extraction of factors, there are two things. One is eigenvalue and one is communality. Okay, what is eigenvalue? So in a process of factor extraction, principal factor analysis, it develops a new set of factors which are linear composite of the original factors. Okay, generally what happens when you do the SPSS, you will find out that the data which you have entered, this extraction of factors factor will develop a new data. Will develop a new data based on your output, and based on that, the commonality and the eigenvalue are seen together. Okay, commonality is nothing but just common factors. Suppose the item number 1 is how is your day, and item number 2 is the day was very uh, hectic. That day was very pathetic. So this commonality will see whether there is any relationship between item number 1 or item number 2. And if this commonality finds that there are relationship between item number 1 and item number 2, means both are common factor, then they will automatically delete the one item. Okay. So this is eigenvalue and commonality. Okay. Again, one more important thing is the scree plot. When you put your data on the SPSS and when you conduct the this principal factor analysis, what happens? What scree plot is appears in the screen. What is this scree plot? This is very important. Okay, scree plot, you can see this is the scree plot is like L. Okay, and there is a bend at 5. There is a bend. Okay, this is called the elbow cut. What happens in this? Items which are above the elbow cut will take that items only, and items which are below the elbow cut will simply discard that items. Okay, again I am repeating, this cut is called elbow cut. The items which are above the elbow cut will keep those items, and items which are below that elbow cut will just discard those items. That is called scree plot. These are again very much statistical expression which I'm not going to discuss. Okay, this I'll skip again. Now item summary. This is very important. Okay, as I am repeating the same thing that the ultimate objective of our scale construction is to delete the items, because we have created 150 items and we have to decrease the item. So this is the item summary. How we have decreased that. Suppose, see here, this is very interesting also. Number 1, at the onset of the study, there were 150 items. We have prepared question pool of 150 items. Clear. Then in step 2, we conducted content adequacy assessment. That means what we did, we have selected 10 subject matter experts, and those 10 subject matter experts gave their feedback that delete this item, accept this items. Okay, we have conducted the content validity index, and based on that, we discarded 39 items. Okay, so after the content adequacy assessment, we there are 111 items which is there with us. Clear? 150 से घट के क्या हो गया? 111 items हो गया. Okay. Then in step 3, what we did a cognitive interviewing process. Okay. In that, what we did, we went to the caregivers, we talked to them, we shared our question pool. The caregivers who were not understanding the questions, we just discarded those questions. So based on that, again we discarded 27 items, and the remaining items were 84 items. Okay. So you have seen the transition now. From 150 items, we came to 84 items. Now, on this 84 items, what we did, we conducted the principal factor analysis on this 84 items. This is again a very tricky thing and very confusing thing. Sometimes what happens that people used to conduct principal factor analysis on 150 item. No, you have to conduct the principal factor analysis on this 84 item only. This is your final 84 items. Okay, so we did that. So after this 84 item, we did the principal factor analysis. Again, in that 22 items were discarded through SPSS, through the computer and through the statistical expression. They automatically discarded this 22 items. So the final remaining items are 62 items. So I can say that my scale are having proper 62 items. Okay, so this is a process of decreasing the items step by step. Okay. I think I am explainable to all the.
Good evening, sir. Just wanted to clarify. So, if we
Yes,
take a
yes.
scale which has 150 items, we can actually discard the things which are not relevant to our study through this process?
Yes, you can do.
Irrespective of like what the author, like the author who has made the scale.
No, if you are developing, if you're developing your own items,
Own
suppose
items,
you're
okay,
developing,
sir.
this I'm describing of my scale. This is the new scale. Okay, this I'm not talking of the pre-existing scales. Okay, this is the new
Okay,
scale.
sir. Okay, got it, sir.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you for the question. Can I move forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm moving forward. Okay. So now after this business, we get 62 items. So our scale is of 62 items. Okay. Now the scale is prepared. Now we have to check the reliability and validity. This is very important. Okay. So again, we will check the reliability and validity. First, we'll check the reliability. Reliability is nothing but the checking the Cronbach alpha. How we'll check the Cronbach alpha? Again, we will do the statistical expressions, SPSS, and we'll find, means when you are conducting the PFA, you will get the Cronbach alpha automatically in the screen. Okay, so in my study, the Cronbach alpha came as 0.88. So you can see in the present study, the Cronbach alpha of PIC is my scale, that is psychosocial inventory for caregivers, came to be 0.88, showing the good reliability value. And this is the table. This table is prepared by who? This table is prepared by Kaiser. Okay, Kaiser 1974. Okay, again, this is composite reliability. What is this composite reliability? Just the here I am explaining the accept threshold for concept reliability, composite reliability is considered to be 0.70. In the present study, the composite reliability of all the 10 domains were above 0.70. Okay, this I am explaining. Suppose my scale was of 62 items. 62 items and 10 domains. 62 items and 10 domains. So what composite reliability did? Composite checked all the 10 domains. Okay, they checked all the 10 domains and they find out that the composite reliability is also good. Few students must be having this question that this all the statistical expressions, this number, from where I am generating this all data. So this is all based on SPSS expressions. Okay, not to worry at all. When you will go to the SPSS, you will perform the PFA, principal factor analysis, you will find everything. Okay, just you have to jot it down step by step, and again you have to correlate with your findings. Okay, so moving forward, now our reliability business is over, and we got the reliability of 0.80. So reliability business is over. But what we did, like suppose it is 0.88. I am telling that my reliability is good. This we have to again check with the pre-existing scales. Okay. Suppose there are 7 pre-existing scales, which I have already discussed earlier. Okay, so again we will see that whether those pre-existing scales are having good reliability. Suppose the reliability of MSPSS, that is multi-dimensional scale for perceived social support. Okay, the reliability of that is lying between 0.70 to 0.90, and in my scale the reliability is coming as 0.8. So I am telling that no, it's good because it is coming in that range. Again, we'll check with, suppose I'll check with this family assessment scale, general functioning family assessment scale. Again, I will see that what is the reliability of that scale. Suppose it is 0. I think it is 0.80 to 0.90. Again, that range is coming equal to my range. So I can say that the pre-existing scale reliability and my reliability is same. That means I have established the reliability business. Okay. Now I am moving forward, but before that I'll have a sip of water. Yes. Now comes the validity business. Okay, what is this? So here we will establish the validity by 2 methods. The first is theoretical method. The first is purely theoretical method, and the second is what? We will check the validity of my scale with the pre-existing tool. Simply, I will do a correlation test. I'll check all the correlation values of pre-existing tools, and then I will check it with my. Okay. So here in the theory thing, what it is given, I will just read the sentence. The score of newly constructed tool is correlated with the scores of pre-existing tool, and level of significance is C. Okay. For convergent validity, the expected average variance should be greater than 0.5. Okay. This was supported by Fornell and Lackler. Okay. They have suggested that if the average variance falls below the cutoff of 0.5, but composite reliability falls above 0.6, therefore the convergent validity of a specific construct stands adequate. In my case, it was standing adequate. And for divergent validity, what it is given? It is given that in the other type of construct validity, which is opposite of convergent validity. In discriminant validity, the newly formed measure should not be highly correlated with the other pre-existing measures. Discriminant validity coefficient should be noticeable smaller in magnitude than the convergent validity coefficients. Basically, what happens sometimes this theory is not go hand in hand with our findings. So in that case, you can discard this theoretical explanation and you can simply do a correlation test and you can establish your validity. Okay, but what I did in my case, I was lucky that in the theoretical part also it was showing a good validity, and in the correlation thing also it came as good. So you can skip this step or you can include this step depending on your findings. Okay. Now, moving forward, if you talk of statistical analysis, these are the few statistical analysis which we conduct in scale construction. The first is descriptive statistics, that you are well aware of it, seeing the level of socio-demographic details, seeing the level of psychosocial problems, and accepting. Okay. The second is bivariate statistics. What is bivariate statistics? Here we conduct Pearson correlation in my case, Pearson correlation was performed among PIC, scale, and other pre-existing tools to measure the reliability, to check the convergent and divergent validity, and different things. What is multivariate statistics? In multivariate statistics, simply we conduct principal factor analysis. So this was an overview of statistical analysis. Yes, this is I've put this table just to give you a better view of what I was talking on CVI, that is Content Validity Index. As I have told earlier that in my case, there were 10 subject matter experts now. See, there are 10 subject matter experts. Expert 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All those subject matter experts reviewed my question pool of 150 items. Okay. And they gave their views. So in expert number 1, what he or she did, they gave me 1. That means they accepted the item. But at the same time, expert number 2 discarded the item. Okay, it means there was a slight modification. Expert number 3 also did slight modification. So in that pattern, the response came at 6. Okay, the response came as 6. So the CVI is 0.6. How 0.6? 6 divided by 10, that is 0.6. In the same pattern, I did it for all the 150 items. Okay, you can see here in this table, items is coming as 120, 130, 150. Okay, this is 150, and here I have calculated everything. One thing which is very important to notice here is that your ICVI, that is item level content validity index, and SCVI, that is scale level content validity index, should be same. If they are not same, that means you have done some kind of calculation mistake somewhere. So make sure. Okay, in my case, it is coming same. Right? You can see the ICVI is coming 0.6 and SCVI is also coming 0.6. That means I have done a perfect distance. There is no calculation error. Okay, this is the explanation of table number 1, which I'm not going to discuss in detail. Okay, now here what I have done, this is the social demographic detail of my study. I'm not going to discuss this, but I've just put the slides. Okay, this will go like this. Now this is very important. This is the findings. Here is the pre-existing tool, and this is my tool. Okay, the pre-existing tool. Suppose in my tool, I was seeing the physical health of the caregivers. Okay, and what the pre-existing tool I used for it? The pre-existing tool was I'm forgetting the name of my tool. PHQ, Physical Health Questionnaire. Okay, the Physical Health Questionnaire. So what I did here, I compare the finding of pre-existing established tool with my tool. Okay, and I am seeing the difference. Okay, so likewise for psychological health, again I have seen these are domains of my scale. As I have told earlier also, that in my scale there are 10 domains: physical health, psychological health, social health. There are 10 domains, and for 10 domains I have used 10 scales, 10 pre-existing scales, and then I have compared the findings. Okay, for psychological health I have used DAS-21, depression, anxiety, stress scale, and I have compared the findings. Okay, this is for social support, pre-existing established tool. This is my big social support. Domain number 3. This is domain number 4. Domain number 5. Domain number 6. Likewise, it will go on. Okay, just to compare. Okay. For exploratory factor analysis, how we'll make the tables? So I have just put few tables here. The first is Kaiser Mayer Alkin table. This I have already discussed earlier. So this table will go like this. Then communality, initial communality, extracted communalities. Here what I did, see, there is one catch here. You can see the tables. This is the initial communality and this is the extracted communality. Okay. What happened in my case? See, in my case, what happened? See, in this table, the extracted communality indicated the proportion of each item variance that can be explained by the written factors. Items with high values were well represented in the common factor analysis space. The final communalities was above 0.50. It should be below 0.50. But in my case, what happened? All the final communalities came above 0.50. So in that case, I selected all the 84 items. I retained all the 84 items. Okay. Here you can see it is coming all above 0.84. So I selected all the 84 items were retained. Okay. These are again the, this is how you have to make the scale, tables like this I have given here. Okay. This I'm not explaining in detail. This is the factor pattern matrix. Here, what is here? You can see the communality of all the domains: physical domain, psychological domain. In social domain, again, I was having two things. One was family, one was community. Then FF, that is family functioning, resilience, care burden, critical comment. In critical comment, again, there were three parts. That is emotional over involvement, critical comment, and attention. That is hostility. These are a few things. Okay, this I'm not explaining in details. You will be confused. Okay, again, this is very important. Factor loading. Factor loading is again very important thing. Okay, this all you will get in the SPSS. No need to get panic. No need to get worried. Okay, these data you will get in the SPSS while you will perform the PFA. That is principal factor analysis. Okay, here see here item retained for the final scale whose factor loading are more than 0.40 on 10 factors. 0.40 on 10 factors. So all the items which were having the factor loading of 0.40, we will retain that items and will discard all the other items. Okay. So I did the same thing. Okay. Here. So, and after retaining those 10 factors, here are my final 10 domains. Okay. The above table showed correlation among the 10 of 10 factors. So what is this? This is the domain of my scale, the newly constructed tool, and these are the domains of what? These are the domains of the already pre-existing tools. Okay, like this. This is my Cronbach alpha 0.18. This I've discussed earlier also. Likewise, I'll go. Okay. See, again, I have taken out the Cronbach alpha of each and every domain also. For physical health questionnaire, for physical health subscale, I have Cronbach alpha of 0.88, 0.88, 0.68. Likewise, then it will go. We go like this. Okay. Like this, like this. Here, this is there is one important thing which I want to describe here. Okay. In the discriminant validity section, your table will appear like this. And you can see here the bold numbers 0.6, 0.6, 0.6, 0.75. This bold number has a very significant thing to describe. Okay, which I will describe here. See. The bold numbers are the square root of AVE. Okay. The bold numbers listed diagonally. See, you can see that diagonal patterns coming like this. Diagonally are the root of the variance shared between the construct and their users. The off-diagonal element, these are the off-diagonal element. These are all the off-diagonal element. So what is it is describing? The off-diagonal element are the correlation among the construct. For a discriminant validity, the diagonal element should be larger than the off-diagonal element. Okay, the diagonal element should be larger than the off-diagonal element. Okay, hence the discriminant validity is established. So for my scale, the discriminant validity was established. Okay. One thing I have repeated earlier also, that we'll check the reliability and validity based on two things. The one is theory based, and the second will do a correlation test between the pre-existing tool and our newly appeared tool. So this is the pre-existing tools. You can see here PHQ stands for physical health questionnaire, DAS stands for depression anxiety stress scale, MSP stands for multidimensional scale for positive social support, ZBI stands for Zaid Butter interview, CDRISC stands for Quadrant Davidson resilience scale, GFFAD stands for General Functioning Family Assessment Scale, and FQ stands for Family Questionnaire. FQ means to see the critical comments and all that. So these are well established tools. And so what I did, I just taken the psychometric properties of all these items and I have done a correlation test with, see, PHQ with my physical domain, TAS psychological domain with psychological domain, social domain with social domain. MSP is what? MSP assess quantifies the social support. Okay, so social support with social support, burden with care burden. Okay, resilience with resilience, GFFAD family functioning with FF family functioning, and FQ with these three domains. That is EE expressed emotion, EOI emotional. What is this? EOI stands for emotional over involvement, and H stands for hostility. Okay, so just a simple correlation matrix. This is the explanation. Again, explanation. Again, this you can do, or you can avoid this step. This is called effect size. So what we will do, we will just see the effect size. Here we can see, here I am reading the explanation of this table, that according to Godwin et al. 2013, if the effect size comes in medium range, that is 0.20 to 0.40, convergent validity can be established. Okay, so in my case, in my present study, convergent validity was established in 6 domains. You can see 6 domains, these bold items. This bold items you can see here. Pick PSY. Pick PSY means psychosocial inventory for caregivers. The domain is psychological domain with -20. Okay, so all the effect size came like this. So in my case, 6 domains came which were having the effect size as medium range between 0.20 to 0.40. Likewise, again, I did a divergent validity based on the effect size. Here, what I did, I read the explanation of the table. According to Stanzier et al. 2021, divergent validity is established if the effect size is less than 0.20. So in my case, the effect size in 6 domains, the effect size was less than 0.20. So it is coming like this. Okay. So with this, these are the tables, and these are my references. And with this, I'll stop my presentation. And if you have any question, any doubt, please open to us. Thank you.